Hey everyone, thanks for coming out to check this out. My name's Jody. I work for Neil Squire Society, and I'm an AT specialist and trainer. But the thing I'm actually coming in to talk about is the not specifically AT tools that I have found and love and want to share with you. So what I have up there and what I'm going to explain is I'm not giving every detail of different tools. I'm giving you signposts that say, go look at this thing, go look over there. All the AI chatbots make it so much more accessible to go in and say, tell me how this tool might help me with this challenge. Everything is related to what is the barrier with it does not matter what is the disability. It's just what is the barrier, what do we fix? So the first thing is to look at some of the tools for just straight up access, whether using a computer is maybe limited to only keyboard, only mouse, only voice, whether things are too slow or too effortful to access. This is ways that everything sort of gets mixed up to create more access for everyone. So the first one I'm talking about is AutoHotkey, and this is the least impressive looking program out there because it's literally a text document, and it is the most powerful thing that I have ever come across. So this program can change what a key does. It can change what it does per program or at what time or any of a million other conditions. And it's all just this text document that you write in. So some of the things is you can make it so that if you press just a few keys, it types out a long string of text. You can make it that if you press this unknown hidden thing on your keyboard, like Control Shift F9 and the number 3, it will type in your secret password for you. All sorts of things. Really amazing for automating repetitive tasks.
Is that like our text plays?
Text plays is just going, here's text and here's what it expands into. But this one can go into what it does only in Word. So it just has many, many more conditions. And yeah, the best part is you used to have to know how to code AutoHotkey to tell it what you wanted it to do. And now you go to your favorite AI, whatever that is, and say, write me an AutoHotkey script that will, and tell it what you want it to do. If you know a series of keystrokes to do it, you tell it that directly. But if you don't, just tell it, I want to do this in Outlook. I want that when I press this, it will delay send until tomorrow at 8 a.m. And it will go look at Microsoft Docs and figure out what is the shortcut to do that, and then run it. Okay, so I call AutoHotkey the Swiss Army knife of keyboard and computer. This one, X mouse button control, which is another very unimpressive looking text-based program, is the Swiss Army knife of mouse control. This one lets you change every single mouse button and what it does, in what app, under what conditions, when you're on what layer. So many. One of my favorite things is that it has a timer one. So I can make one button, one accessibility switch, do up to like 5 different actions, depending on how long I hold it down for. So that one button is my left click, my right click, my middle click, and my scroll, all in one. One of the other ones it's great for is turning off the mouse buttons if you access them in a non-standard way. You have another switch or voice. Okay. And the next one is Fluent Search. This one was definitely designed for computer nerds that don't want to take the time to move their hands from the mouse or from the keyboard up to the mouse. But in this one, you press one key and every clickable item on your screen becomes just keyed with numbers, letters, symbols, whatever you want to use that they're labeled with to click on. It works from the accessibility layer of your computer to say, oh, this is a button. But it also has a thing that just scans your screen and says, that kind of looks like a button. So it works in video games, which are typically not very accessible. It works through remote computers. Amazing for like banks that have to go into different computers to work. Okay, so that was looking at just getting access, and getting everybody access to a computer to do the tasks they need to do is always the first step. But then you can start looking at, there's access, now let's do efficiency. So efficiency usually comes from this thing that I call macros. And that's just when you string a series of activities or a series of actions together into one. So yeah, if you can't reach something, if it takes a really long time or a lot of effort, or you're doing it over and over. I have a brain that does not like to repeat the same tedious task over and over. So I do a lot of automation for those things. That's my bottom one there, willingness. I hate doing this. Okay, so the first one, Nate had already asked about text plays. This is a program that lets you type very short little bits of text, and it will expand it into long dynamic text for you. So if you have a thanks for coming in email, you can type, whatever, thanks, and it will expand the whole thing. It gives you little form fields. You can put in, this is the name they need. This is the date of the appointment. This is the date of their next appointment. And so it makes sure stuff isn't missed. It both saves a ton of typing and a ton of cognitive effort and a ton of training and possible errors. And what's shown here is exactly what I use it for, which is writing reports. It writes out whole reports and emails for me. And also, it is one of the simplest ones for creating basic key sequences. So this one down here fills out a form for me, where every time I train somebody, I go into the system and I log everything we did. And it drove me crazy because it's 17 different drop downs to go through to put in billing codes and everything else. And this just fills it out for me. I press one key. Yeah. Okay. Another common way to access macros is what I call a static macro board. So these mean your button has a sticker on it that tells you what it does. And when you press that button, a certain action happens. This can be great for your copy and paste type stuff, moving things along, but it can do much more advanced stuff. Like you press this button and it opens YouTube and it plays your favorite video and then it closes it again. So you could have that set to run, just as like a stress reliever, that somebody can anytime press a button, get the thing that they need to help to re-regulate themselves and go back. And these are a hardware, or they act as hardware, which the explanation is they don't act based on what's on the computer. You can plug these things into any computer and they can do that action. So this can work for even just a login. You can carry around a button that types in your Windows login and password. If you need to work all over in different places, every one of these can get you in. And then the other one to look, that I sort of consider the other category, is dynamic macro boards. So these are software-based, and they can do different things depending on where you are and what you're trying to do. So if you open up Microsoft Word, you could expand Word to be the whole screen, no distractions, and then you have a little board beside you that gives you all your common functions. It can run your spell check. It can read aloud for you. So it lets you really tailor the computer to what you want it to do. So I show a couple different types here. The bottom one is the Logi Action one. And it's just sort of a small 9-key dynamic one. But all of its keys can change depending on either other keys you pressed or where you are. And then it also has sort of some wheels and stuff if you do more scrolling, video editing and stuff. There's also ones that the top one I show is Touch Portal. And that's about a $15 program that lets you turn any phone into a dynamic macro board. And the last one, which has been very cool, is radial menus. These, instead of going over to your board, they bring the board to wherever your mouse is. So for example, you can browse the web, and when you want to go forward or back or type in a new thing or save a web page, it appears right beside your mouse. So if mouse movement is a challenge, this can greatly, greatly reduce effort. Okay, so we talked about access and efficiency. The next one is automation. We've gone from can't do it at all to can't do it quickly to don't even have to think about it. So shortcuts is built into all the iOS devices, and everything is just to do with there's triggers, there's conditions, and there's actions. So you say, if I get in my car and the time is between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., navigate me to work. And it's all there. It's just step by step. If this, then that. So yeah, examples are if you disconnect your Bluetooth and it's from your car and it's after sunset, yeah, turn on your flashlight so you can automatically walk into your house. Yeah, so this is on screen. I have a whole lot of a list of different conditions and different automations. Like you get a certain text, or you have a certain device connect, or different sensors. Okay, I just have to share this as an example of what the power that this can have. I was working, and there was a man in a supported home, and he kept making 911 calls at night that were extra. They said, you know, you need to take away this phone if he won't stop doing them. So I can set up a system that says in the house at night, if he calls 911, hang up that call, text his father that he did that, and then call his father to give him mental health support. So this prevented having to take a big action. And really, you don't want to take somebody's phone away. And this prevented actually having to. Okay, other automation things. NFC tags. These are the cheapest automation you can do outside of shortcuts because they cost like 25 cents and they can run through a washing machine without getting damaged. And you just set up whatever action they will do when your phone touches them. So some examples are you can have one beside your door that you tap when you to say, hey, I got home safe. You can have one on a picture of your grandma that calls her. And then I had one that would run an automation of somebody's self-recorded bathroom routine to remind them of all the steps as dementia progressed. Okay, a website to go explore, I'm not going to go into it too much, is called If This, Then That. It's the whole concept of the automation stuff that you do. And they just have a whole lot of drop-downs to do it automatically. Okay, very last few. Smart lights are not intended as an assistive thing, but they can be really, really helpful for something like dementia in terms of gently scheduling a day. You know, the lights in the living room are going down, the lights in the bedroom come up. The light over the medicine cabinet comes on every time that they should be taking medication. So you go over to the medicine cabinet, you open it, you close it, you press the button to turn the light off. It'll turn itself back on. These radio frequency switches, super cheap off Amazon. And they are so simple, they never break. But you can turn on a fan, you can turn on speakers remotely. And my last one to talk about is recordable greeting cards. These things are intended to let you say, hi, Mom, I love you, happy Mother's Day. But imagine putting one of these beside the washing machine to instead explain the process of going through the wash. You have some pictures up, and you have a voice that tells you how to do this process each time. Okay, and because I went through a bunch of things quickly, this is a picture slide if you want to note down any of the things I talked about. I think I have maybe almost no minutes for questions. Okay, 2 minutes for questions. I don't. This is my handout. On text, please. It's called Text Blaze, like lightning fast text. Yep. Yep.
You mentioned dementia and Alzheimer's. Does the Alzheimer's Society know about these things? And I'm involved in an area where we have a lot of people with Alzheimer's. How do we get this information to them? Because I love the idea about knowing how to wash your hands, et cetera, et cetera. The card.
I'll give you a card. Yeah.
And do you charge? What happens?
I'm just connected to Neil Squire. So if it's part of our services, then we can absolutely do support, or they can arrange for us to talk about the information. Otherwise, just tell me and I'll pass on the info from here.
We're funded by Fraser Health. Would that be?
She's asking about Alzheimer's Society and funded by Fraser Health, and can they help?
I'm not asking about Alzheimer's. I'm asking about, I really like the
Yeah.
idea of how you connected giving information to people to keep them at home.
Yeah.
So that's what I really want to know. I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question? Okay, so basically what I'm wanting to know is that I'm involved in a day program, and we have a lot of people that have dementia or Alzheimer's. And I really like the idea of having a supportive system where the caregiver doesn't have to give the information, but the person has it. And my question is, how do we tap into this? That's what I want to know. And thank you.
Great question. And I think the thing is, there's probably a path for us, Neil Squire and the Alzheimer's Society, to work together to figure out a solution for that.
It's not Alzheimer's, it's a daycare program.
Okay.
Cross-reach.
Then cross-reach.
Yes.
Because we can't do everything for free. We're a nonprofit
Yes,
organization,
exactly.
but like all nonprofit organizations, we're funded to do certain things. So I'd love for you and Jody to have a conversation, and Jody will talk to her supervisor, and let's find a way. If it's something simple, we do something simple every day for free. If we got to develop a bit of a program for your organization, we'd love to do that, and there may be a small cost to facilitate
See, what
that.
we're setting up, I hope I'm not taking up too much time. What we're going to be setting up is, my concern is for the caregivers. And so we're going to be doing workshops. When our clients are at the day center, then we're going to be offering the caregivers support. And I suffered with my husband, and I would have loved a program where he wasn't screaming at me all the time how to do it. So I think this is really exciting for the program, and it's also exciting for people that need the extra support. I think it's fabulous. So yes, I will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
We'd love
so
that
much.
opportunity to
Thank
get us together and talk about how we can facilitate that.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a question for the top two sites mentioned. So yeah, for the first one, the macros and the top one, I'm wondering, are these made specifically for those with disabilities, or can the general public use either of those two mentioned?
Yes, please do. These are not disability specific. Most of them come from either the gaming world or the very high programmer productivity type world.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the same thing that lets somebody cheat at Fortnite also lets a disabled person play Fortnite. Thank you, everyone.
Good job, Joe. So I've never met a microphone that I ever need. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, all because of the captions. I will use a mic. Captions are important. I get it. No, 100%. I get it. No worries. So I'm Nate from Neil Squire, and one of the programs that we operate in British Columbia is the WorkBC Assistive Technology Services program, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that. As I explain this to you, I want you to think about people you know in the community, two groups of people. The commonalities, they have a barrier: disability, chronic pain, an old injury, hearing loss or vision loss. And the two groups of people are, one is they're not in the workforce, and they would use a WorkBC employment center in the workforce to get to us. The second group of people would be people you know that are in the workforce, especially if they work in a small business or self-employed. Those are the people that qualify for this program. On the screen right now, we have a picture of Neil. Neil was he's wearing a UVic t-shirt, and he was on the basketball team. He was an honor student and living in Nanaimo, heading back to campus in Victoria, and unfortunately had a very bad car accident. So on the screen is a picture of Neil in his care home, and he's in a wheelchair. He has a trach device in his throat that has a hose coming out of it that's hooked to a pump on the floor. Neil was not just a quadriplegic, he was a tetraplegic, so he needed assistance in his breathing. In front of Neil is a computer monitor. Hanging from that monitor is a piece of paper. That piece of paper was a cheat sheet for the Morse code alphabet. And beside that is what's called a teletype, which was the thing before fax. And at the top of a teletype is a dot matrix printer. So Neil learned to communicate, and this piece of technology was developed in 1980 by his cousin Bill Cameron, using a sip and puff device and Morse code. So Neil, the piece of paper, that cheat sheet, would help Neil know what an A, a B, and a C was, and he would use sip and puff to sip and puff those letters into words, into sentences. They'd show up on that monitor, and what was ever on the monitor, Neil could also do a command using sip and puff to get it to print out on that dot matrix printer. That was the start of the Neil Squire Foundation. Sadly, when Neil died, when Neil passed away, that group of people that had worked with him over that period of about 4 years, instead of letting all that work go to waste, essentially, they created the Neil Squire Foundation in Neil's name and his honor. And today, now we're in 8 Canadian provinces. We've opened up in Yellowknife, and there's a lot of different work that we do. Our superpower is assistive and adaptive technologies. 1 out of 4 people in British Columbia have a disability. What this on the screen here is a lady sitting in a modified van. She's got a remote control in her right hand, and her manual wheelchair is hanging from a lift that brings this in and out of her vehicle. This is something we can fund in the assistive technology program, is helping people get to and from work. We can't fund transit or handy dart, but we can fund modifying somebody's motor vehicle. They have to provide the vehicle. We're not allowed to fund that. And they have to get licensed to drive a modified motor vehicle. We're not allowed to be involved in that. But we have funding to modify the vehicle. 2, we can power assist somebody's manual wheelchair for the same idea, for the idea of helping them get to and from work, or from home to transit to work and back. Workplace accommodations don't have to be expensive. That's a myth that they're expensive. Once we take out hearing aids and the to and from work piece out of this program, the average accommodation that we provide somebody is about $500. And there can be high tech, low tech, software, hardware. There's a variety of different solutions that we help people get. What's important about the WorkBC Assistive Technology Program is that the assessments, and there's 13 different assessments that a WorkBC client can have done, and there's 8 that we are involved with. If somebody's in the workforce, those are fully funded. Well, the program's designed as a contribution model. Nobody ever has to contribute to the cost of the assessment or the cost of any training involved if they get a piece of hardware or software that requires training. Ministry, not Neil Squire, ministry has us look at people's income less expenses in a 30-day window. If they have a surplus, they have to contribute to it. If they don't have a surplus, the program's well funded, and the program will fund their workplace accommodation or learning accommodation if they're trying to get in the workforce through WorkBC. We support people with barriers, and the word barrier is the key thing here. A barrier in learning, a barrier in doing. If they're a WorkBC client, if they have a barrier to job search functions, if they have a barrier to a program that they're put through that WorkBC funds, or they have a barrier to the eventual job they secure, that would be the reason for WorkBC to send them to us for the assessment process. The same for people in the workforce. Do they have a barrier to doing their work-related or assistive technology-related activities? That would be why they would apply online for this program. Nothing we do is cookie cutter. Everything we do is focused on that individual with their specific disability and abilities. When we do the assessment by our occupational therapists, not only are we learning about somebody's disability, we're also learning about what their ability is. And then we do our best to fill that gap between the disability and the ability with the assistive or adaptive technology or vision assistance or hearing aids. And we do this right across the province of BC. So anybody you know that's a resident of BC and legally working in the province that's 16 years of age or older. And it's always the individual that applies. So it says individual because if they're in the workforce, their employer does not apply on their behalf. The person with the disability is the one that, or the barrier, they're the one that applies. 16 years of age or older, legally able to work in the province of BC and a resident of British Columbia. And then this last paragraph is they need that assistive or adaptive equipment or disability supports to avoid losing their current employment or self-employment. That's key. Once somebody has a job, we don't want to have them fall through those cracks if they lose that job. So we want to help them stay in the workforce. Everything we do at Neil Squire is about the client. Without the client, we don't have a role to play. There's a lot of different, we have a booth out there in the Expo today. There's a lot of different programs that we're involved with. We know employment fixes a lot of problems. It doesn't solve everything, but when somebody's got a good job, that can help a lot of the other challenges that somebody might be dealing with, make them more easier to deal with. So we're really big on employment, and we know for many people with disabilities, the thing that they need to do the job is a piece of assistive or adaptive equipment. Again, that's our superpower. There's a great, if we could just bottle, is Jody still here? If we could just bottle Jody and just send her out into the world in little micro capsules, I think a whole bunch of the world's problems would be solved because she's amazing. But there's another great resource if you're taking notes today. It's askjan.org. It's a job accommodation network. It's a website in the United States. The only good thing coming out of America today, just kidding if you're from the US, is the job accommodation network. It's got a very cool search engine on it where you can enter in somebody's disability or their barrier, and the search engine will return a bunch of solutions, including success stories of successful implementations of those assistive technologies, and we use that often. It is a great resource. But what do we cover in this program? Again, high tech, low tech, software, hardware. Ergonomics. Chronic pain is the #1 disability in Canada. So who do you know with a bad back? They work in a small business or they're self-employed, but they sit in a chair like this. These chairs are great for 1-hour presentations. If you're sitting in this chair for 4 to 8 hours a day while you're doing your work and you have a bad back, your back will never get better. It'll probably get worse. We fund proper ergonomic chairs. We fund sit-to-stand workstations. Jody was talking about data. If you're working with data and you have keyboards or mice or use your voice, there's a ton of different ways that we can make that easier to do for somebody with a disability. So whether you're creating data, managing data, manipulating data, there's all sorts of ways that we can assist. If you know somebody with hearing loss, if you know somebody with vision loss, these are things that we're experts at. At Neil Squire in Burnaby, we have our own Hearing Solutions Center. It's wheelchair accessible. It's free. Hearing tests are free. Ear cleaning is currently free. If somebody doesn't qualify for one of our programs where there may be funding available and you have to buy the hearing aids, we'll sell those hearing aids to you at 30 to 40% less than the for-profit organizations around the province. So again, neilsquire.ca under programs, you'll find everything that we're doing out there. Hearing aids are a real big part of this program. You heard me say earlier, the people that we're serving are working in a small business or self-employed. And that is true. But there's two exceptions. And one is the to and from work piece with wheelchair modifications or vehicle modifications. And the other is hearing aids. And the reason that those two items are different is because the employer's duty to accommodate, for the most part, doesn't impact that. Like, if you're an employee, your boss doesn't pick you up to take you to work. That falls on us, right? That's our duty, is to get to and from work. And the other thing is hearing aids. For the most part, that does not fall under the duty to accommodate. We have to accommodate our own needs if we have hearing loss. Hearing aids are very expensive in our province. They're $5,000 to $7,000 on average, a pair. There's zero coverage in BC through our medical services plan. And even if you are working and have a good benefits program, 250 to 500 a year is what most coverage plans are, which leaves a huge gap. So again, we have to look at people's income less expenses, but only in a 30-day window to determine their ability to contribute. We don't have to look at their T4 or anything like that. And we look at income less expenses or family income less family expenses. And whatever the surplus there, if it's $500, if it's $1,200, that would be their one-time contribution to the $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000 hearing aids. And the program will fund the rest. So your mission, should you choose to accept it today, is who do you know that needs hearing aids and they're still working? Send them to this program. We're going to be able to make some impact on the cost. We have a beautiful lab that Jody works in all the time at Neil Squire, where we do our assessments, we do trialing, we do training, and it's one of only 2 labs in the entire province. The other one is at GF Strong Rehab Center, and there's some amazing work that's done in there. We have well over 100 devices that are, again, high-tech, low-tech software, hardware. My colleague Anna is standing in front of a computer. She's using, what's that technology called, Jody? The head mouse. And in her mouth, she has the click part of the mouse, and she's staring at the screen. And when she gets the clicker on the key that she wants, she does a little click with her teeth, and that clicks the little mouse thing, right? So we have 2 computer stations, chock-a-block full of different software so that we can show our clients the different solutions and find the one that is magic for them. Word prediction, speed, speech recognition, AI. AI has been involved in our industry for how many years, Jody? 15, 20, right? It's just now becoming something that's mainstream. But if you've been using autocorrect, we know it's not always perfect, but if you've been using autocorrect, that's an AI tool, right? So AI has been around a while. Today, it's used every day in our industry. All right. Lastly, and most importantly, is how do you apply? If you're a WorkBC client and you have a barrier to job search or a training program or the eventual job they secure, and there's 102 WorkBC centers around the province, they're going to refer you to us. Okay, there's a mechanism at the WorkBC Center to refer you to us. We're going to do an assessment. In that assessment, we're going to learn about your disability. We're going to learn about your ability. That OT is going to generate a report and then work with the client and our assistive technology specialist to determine what that solution is. Everything up until the device is fully funded. We do have to look at your income less expenses. Most people that aren't working aren't going to contribute. But if you have a spouse that's working, that is part of the component. That was not Neil Squire's idea. If Neil Squire if it was up to us, everybody would get every tool they need, but you got to protect the taxpayer, which we're all taxpayers too. So there's 2 sides to that coin. For people that are in the workforce, they can apply directly to this program. WorkBC.ca, find the Assistive Technology Services program. Everybody's got to have, the first step is their BC EID. Once somebody's filled out that, most people have it nowadays, they go and fill out the application. It's 10 to 15 minutes in length. Same process. Meet the OT, or if it's a hearing audiologist, generate that report, determine the needs, fill those needs, determine copay of anything other than training or assessments, and off we go. And 1,000 to 1,200 British Columbians every year get helped through this program. Okay, you can also download the app. 5.5 million British Columbians. You guys, I can't do this without you. You know, who do you know with a disability? Who do you know that owns a small business? Who do you know in HR? Who do you know that's a practitioner to people that are frontline to people with pain? Chiro, massage therapist, physiotherapist, your family doctor. Our biggest challenge is awareness. We all get bombarded with a bazillion messages every day. Who do you know that we can help? Send them our way. I got time for one question. They're $1 a piece, and we donate the money to charity. So it's a good investment, right? Ma'am, we work with, she said, do we have solutions for people with invisible disabilities? We work with people with like chronic pain every day where that's an invisible disability. So it is self-identify as having a disability. It's not just people with visible barriers, it's people with invisible. So absolutely. Do we require some documentation on a case-by-case basis? Yes. From a doctor or a chiropractor or something? Yes. Great question. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. We have a table outside. There's no bad questions. So come and see us later if there's anything here that sparked you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm just wondering about governments. Do you work with consultants? Do you have, obviously you get referrals from WorkBC, but who else within the government sends you referrals?
Well, the government doesn't really send us referrals. Through our marketing efforts, I meet people through business situations. I'm a member of the Surrey, Burnaby, Tri-Cities, and Greater Vancouver Board of Trade. We do a ton of stuff online with webinars, lunch and learns. We do lunch and learns in-house in our office. So government per se doesn't send us people, but there's lots of other government-funded nonprofits that send clients to us. So it's more through this social services ecosystem that we'll get direct referrals than from a specific government representative. Okay. Thank you, everybody. My pleasure to introduce my colleague, Chris Sterling.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm very honored to be able to speak with you about some of the work we do with Makers Making Change. We just last month are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. We have been working with volunteers and with people across the country for 10 years now, which is pretty incredible, what started with just a Google grant. We were able to develop our flagship device, the lip sync, which I'll mention a bit later. And in those 10 years, we just have ramped up so much, especially in the past 3 or 4 years, in the work that we've been able to do. My name's Chris, as it says there, as Nate introduced me. I've been working with Makers for just over a year now. It's been really excellent. So much of the work I do is speaking with people directly. I host a lot of workshops. I'm the BC Outreach Coordinator for Makers Making Change. We have some other outreach folks in other provinces as well. So as I kind of discuss some of the work we do, if you know somebody somewhere else in Canada who would benefit, please let me know. Reach out to Makers Making Change, and we'll see how we can help you out there. So we're a branch of the Neil Squire Society. The overarching vision is to achieve economic and social inclusiveness for people with disabilities. And with Makers Making Change, we leverage the power of volunteers, both through in-person workshops and individuals across the country and internationally, to be able to print and deliver these devices. I mentioned printing since we work a lot with 3D printed technology specifically. In the top left there, you will see one of our writing devices. So we have a bunch of different pen holders. We have a tube opener, as you can see there, different sizes. All sorts of different everyday things. So we show a hearing aid up there. We specifically don't work with medical devices since 3D printing is not that reliable in that sense. But for everyday things, to help you write, to help you read, we have some Braille writing frames as well. We are able to provide those to people for low cost or no cost at all, for the most part, no cost, which is pretty excellent. So why is there a need for us? A ton of the work that we do is with accessible switches. As you'll see there is a humongous markup for commercially available switches for something that we are able to create a very similar version of ourselves. The AbleNet Mini Cup switch and the Jelly Bean switch are two very popular ones that have existed for quite some time. I just updated these slides recently, and they had gone up in price another $10 just in the past 4 months. So they're each over $100 now. Somebody using a switch setup frequently needs more than one switch. Sometimes they'll need 5 or 10, depending on what they're using them for. And that cost just adds up so quickly. And as many people know, somebody with a disability frequently has a limited income, and we want people to be able to use their money for other things they need or things they enjoy. And so we were able to create these different types of switches. The raindrop switch and interact are two of our most popular ones. And with those, we can reduce the cost to $5 or $10 since we buy all of these materials in bulk. So our program has several different branches. Most of all, we have our Makers Making Change website. It is an open source assistive device library. Is everyone familiar with an open source library or what open source means? A little bit of yes, a little bit of no. So an open source library means that these files are available for free of cost. They're accessible to anybody who needs them. You just need to make an account with our site. You just need to make an account. Since we are a nonprofit, we do track our numbers just for our funding. We don't send your information anywhere. We don't share it with anyone. And through this website as well, you can either request devices to receive, or you can take on other requests from other people in the country. This is available around the world as well, or wherever you can access our website. We are currently in use in, I think, 102 countries around the world, which is incredible. We don't track those numbers, but just in Canada, we have over 40,000 volunteers who have worked with us in the past 10 years. So STEM with Purpose is another one of our huge programs that we use to create these devices that we give out. Those switches that I showed in the last slide there, we frequently have students build those. So we have some funding to be able to go into schools and build those. Around the holiday season, we do our Hacking for the Holidays toy drive, where we adapt thousands of toys to be switch accessible. And we do workshops to adapt those toys and also build the switches. We give them out to people across Canada and occupational therapy clinics. If you want some more information about that, we do have our booth outside there. Nate and Jody will be out there as well to talk about all of the things that we were discussing today. And then the past couple of years, we've really done a lot of work with gaming and game accessibility. A lot of our switches and joysticks are also available to be used for gaming. So we work a lot with the Xbox adaptive controller, if anyone's familiar, and it is just a very simple way to make gaming more accessible physically. A few numbers there. We hit 25,000 devices delivered just in the past couple of months. Since then, we've had a lot of build events and a lot of different drives across the country. And we are, I think, over 30,000 now. So that's pretty incredible. We go to a lot of different schools, 500 schools engaged in the past several years, delivering 10,000 devices. It's a fun build for the students. It's a great activity to learn more about STEM and accessibility. And then we have 11 game checkpoints across the country currently. I think it is actually 12 as of this week or next week. We have a few more opening up, and we have funding to open 5 more after that in the next year and a half, which has just been incredible work. Yes, thanks to the Craig Nielsen funding that we've received. We can now have more activities for youth to do as well, to build these switches and joysticks to be able to send out. So how we work, our website, as I mentioned, the open source library, go on there, make an account. If you want more specific info on how to do that, please reach out to me. I will be out there all day for the rest of the expo today. If you don't find something in the 200 plus devices we offer in the library, there is a design challenge section on there as well. You can kind of pose a question with some of the ideas if you have any sketches or anything of something you might be looking for that's very specific. Somebody around the world will take on that challenge and will be able to create a device for you. And in a lot of instances, that device will then be able to be added to our library, which is incredible. So the build events, I kind of mentioned those as well. It's the groups of volunteers for us to batch build our different devices and adapt toys, and we can give those out then for free or very low cost to people who need them. STEM with Purpose is one of our biggest programs. We have funding thanks to the Government of Canada and some other groups that allow us to host these workshops free of charge to the schools. If you know anybody who might be interested, we do them with groups of kindergarten to grade 12. We don't just do different builds. we have workshops about 3D printing, coding, circuitry, microcontrollers. And of course, we also do the builds, but it's been so much fun. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of students in the past year, and they always have such a great time. A lot of them are encouraged to pursue STEM after, which is just so excellent. It's a great way to give teachers a bit of a break too during their workday. So I know a lot of teachers have been interested as well, and we're currently booking for the next school year. So let me know. Clubs That Care is another one of our microgrant initiatives. If you know somebody who's maybe out of high school, even somebody in the early years of their professional career, they are microgrants available for youth ages 15 to 30. They don't have to be students. They just have to meet this criteria. It's very simple, a straightforward application process. And if you are approved, you'll get $3,000 to create your own 3D printing club. You will answer some of the requests that were posted on our website. You will learn different event hosting skills, event planning skills, and you'll be able to adapt some of these toys and give them out to families. And it's a very tangible impact that you're having. It looks excellent on a school or job application as well. There's a little QR code on there, but same thing. I have way more info up front if you have more questions. So some of our funders, as a nonprofit, we are able to do the work we do because of these funders that help us out. Google was one of our initial funders. I believe they gave us $800,000 US about 10 years ago to work on a specific project. We created the Lip Sync, which is a sip and puff device, really the most current form of the sip and puff device that Neil Squire himself had been using in the 80s, which is amazing. It's had many iterations since then. We have those available as well. I believe those would be considered low cost in a majority of cases, just since the materials are quite expensive to source. But a lot of the work that we do is done around the holiday season. If you work for a group that's looking for a holiday activity, if you know somebody who is, we are aiming to fundraise $200,000 so that we can deliver 2,000 switches and toys. Last year we really blew our expectations out of the water. We had some co-op students working with us in different provinces, and we ended up delivering, I think, 4,200 devices total, which was really incredible. We did over 80 events across Canada between November and December. Very tiring and very rewarding. So some of our major donors from last year, Air Canada and the Bourassa Savaria Foundation in Quebec. And we really aim to make play accessible for all. We get new toys every single year that we adapt. It's one of the projects that our team members work on every year is to find new toys so that kids with disabilities are able to play with something current, not just what is available to them. So some of what we actually have available in our library, lots of low tech. We've got some examples out there in the main area. Those ones are more or less just straightforward 3D prints. You can download the STL files, print them yourself. We have them available in our office in Burnaby as well. We are near the Gilmore SkyTrain station. If you're interested, someone you know is, send them our way. You get those mailed out to you as well. The assistive switches, tons of different adapted toys. RC cars have been very popular lately. The joysticks that we use for gaming as well. And then we do a lot of adaptations for traditional gaming controllers, just 3D printed frames that go right on top. We can do right-handed, left-handed, or a combination of both. So if somebody has a little bit less mobility in their hands, they can still use the more traditional controller. And then a photo of our flagship device there, the Lip Sync, has 3 different channels. So you can use it in the same setup 3 different ways, as maybe a computer mouse to use your phone or tablet. And to use for gaming. So some other examples of our low tech, just things to make life every day a little bit easier. The bottle openers, tube openers. We have a one-handed nail clipper that works really well as well. Different pen grips, just all sorts of very simple things that you may not think about in your everyday life unless you really would need them. So the assistive switches that we make, just go back to those, since that is a bulk of what we really make and deliver. The little tactile switches and limit switches you see along the bottom there, they're the same as the ones that you get from the store. We just 3D print our casings, which reduces the cost significantly. And that way we can give them out for free, build them in bulk, and the tactile switches themselves, some of them cost maybe 25 cents up to $2, and which is just such a great difference between the $100 to $150 that you buy them for at the store. So why use these switches? It's not just for toys. We use them to activate different fans, different lights, anything that you would really activate, anything battery operated with. We don't use them for things that plug into the wall just for safety purposes. Electrical surges and all. We don't do the medical devices for the same reason. So many different ways of activating these toys. You can see one of our clients, Felix, here playing with our spinning light wand, our all-time most popular toy. He activates it with the side of his head attached to his chair there, and they can be placed wherever works best. Some of these are activated by your feet, some of them by light or motion sensing. So some different uses there. Adapted toys, getting into the summer, we do tons of bubble blowers, different water guns, which is really fun. Digital access, a lot of the joysticks can be used as an alternative computer mouse. Some of them click, some of them just do the motion scrolling. And we have analog ones and digital ones as well if you have a different kind of input for your computer. Different communication aids. We also do a lot of 3D printed and laser cut keyboard guards for tablets and communication devices. Some of those are customizable to an extent. Just let us know and we'll see what we can do. Have some examples out there as well. And then the adapted gaming, which has been so popular the past few years. You can see there, this is an alternative setup for an Xbox controller, which I think is pretty incredible. The Xbox adapted controller is the one we work with most since it does have the replacement aux cord inputs for every single button on the controller. The ones for PlayStation, other ones aren't so versatile. They have less inputs and rely more on the actual adapted controller itself. So yeah, in closing, like Nate was saying as well, if you know somebody who would benefit from our services, please let us know. The way we really spread the word is through word of mouth. Especially when we work with younger students, they're not going around telling everybody about the work we do. It's more the adults and older youth that we work with. We are here for you if you have a specific need or requirement. We'll see how we can help you out. These switches are available. The different everyday low tech is available. Really, we're here to help you, and we can't help if you don't know that we're here. So let us know. I'll be out front and have my card here. If you're interested in hosting a build, or if you know a student who would have a lot of fun doing a STEM workshop, we have so many different options available, even throughout the summer here. If they're at some sort of summer camp, I know I'm going to a bunch of different camps this summer, which will be so much fun. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our community and the volunteers that we use. 40,000 volunteers. I think we have thousands of them that are active. That's just what we're able to track in Canada. Around the world in 102 countries, there are also tons of people who have their own 3D printing clubs who deliver these devices to OT clinics out there.